and welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, wearetribe.co.
Natural sports nutrition delivered direct to you. You can get a free trial pack of 6 delicious energy bars, trail mix, recovery bars and shakes for just £1 by using the code OxygenAddict1.
We're also brought to you by precisionhydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalise your hydration strategy at precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code OxygenAddict.
Awesome. And also a massive thanks to our patrons
who support the show with a monthly donation. You can get our 2018 patrons only podcast as a thank you.
Getting a bit of love about the old 2018's Patrons podcast over email this week. Hells, people liking little, especially the Lucy Charles extra little section. People seem to have a lot of time for that young lady, and we'll be hearing more from her later on today.
More about her, won't we?
Yes, we've been a little bit of racing action from Lucy. We've also got results from Ironman Texas, so some superb racing going on over there. We had 70.3 Marbella. And what else did we have? Bermuda, wasn't it? WTS Bermuda. So all kinds of excitement to jump into. But without a doubt, the biggest event happening this week and then the triathlon calendar took place in Tatton Park in Knutsford, didn't it? How did it go? Helen organised her
triathlon.
Yeah, Helen organised her Canute, the inaugural Canute duathlon. So tell us all about it. Was it good fun?
Oh, yeah, it was good fun. It was the same pre-race nerves that you get as an athlete, because you're just thinking, I've put all the work in, I've done everything, we've done everything that we can in the time that we have, given everything else sort of going on in life. And Rob, we had just short of 150 people.
Brilliant.
And it was brilliant. And what really made it for me were two things. First of all was seeing people who probably thought that they couldn't do that actually come over the finish line, so the smiles. And also, you know very well, Knutsford Tri Club is just such an amazing club, and this wasn't organised, it's not a triathlon club organised event, but it just highlighted how amazing all of my club mates are, because a lot of them volunteered. If they didn't volunteer, then, they were taking part. But I just thought these people are incredible. It was the marshals who they nail it, Rob. Every race you go to, your marshals are amazing.
You've got some extra love for your marshals in your life right now, have you?
Oh, I've got a lot of love for a lot of people. I'll tell you, Rob, so we decided that the distances, we wanted to make it something which is achievable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So really, it was more beginner focused. And for example, we did a super sprint, which the first run was around about 3.5K. The bike was 11K, and then the second run was 1.25K. So that really is very, very open to complete newbies. Then we had another distance which was double that. So we had so many first timers, and we also had a lot of people that we've been coaching over the past sort of 5-6 months who completed it, and that was just really, really satisfying. James at Comfuel, Rob, deserves a massive shout out. Comfuel is he was just the nicest guy. He came, he gave everyone Kendall mint cake for the goodie bags, he gave everyone gels at the beginning, he was there supporting, taking photos. His support was absolutely invaluable. Same goes for Dave at Precision Hydration, who supplied some prizes as well, and a sachet of pH for everybody's goodie bag, and then he's even given a discount code for this week for everyone. So it's people like that who just really helped to make it, and it was really, really cool.
Oh, well done. It sounds like you had a great fun time organising it as well, which is what's important, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know if fun's the word, Rob.
No, totally not fun, but extremely satisfying that you've done something afterwards. One of those things that you do some good for the world, and it doesn't feel like fun, but it feels rewarding.
Yes. Yeah, it's very stressful. That I can tell you.
Is it going to be an annual event? Are you planning to do another one?
So we are doing the Kid Swan again this year in July the 8th.
Brilliant.
So that's been, that's no problem at all. We would like to do the canoe duathlon again. It'll depend on a few things.
Right. Good. All right.
Namely big, wonderful places nearby.
Yeah.
Which you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, got you.
But I mean, they were brilliant. But let's hope that we can do it again.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So and Rob, it was funny actually. You know, we always say it's just like you and I are chatting because we are chatting, and sometimes you forget that actually lots of people listen to this podcast. And someone came up to me and said, "Are you Helen?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "I love the podcast." Thanks. What are you doing here? Why did you enter this? Oh, I heard about it on the podcast.
There you go. Who knew?
Like, oh wow. Oh, well, lovely. So, yeah, Stafford Tri, hello, thank you. It's nice to meet you all.
The ever-expanding bizarre world of internet minor celebrity strikes again, right? Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Right, I'll tell you what, let's kick off the show, shall we? Let's kick off the show with some people who are going to get recognised and rewarded for generally being awesome, because we get to announce the winner of, now let me get my month right, It's going to be April's Tribe Triathlete of the Month award. So we had great number of entries this month for it. And it was a difficult decision, wasn't it? There were some really good stories this month, so we're going to give a few shout outs to people who haven't won, but thank you very much for being nominated. First up, we had Jamie Cumber, who was nominated by James Ecart.
We had Emma Higgins, who was nominated by Jane Eccleston.
And we had James Wilson as well, nominated by Ian Johnson. So well done. You're like in what's the phrase? The commended runners-up, if you like.
Definitely.
But this month's winner of the Tribe Triathlete of the Month award, taking away a massive parcel of Tribe goodies and a Tribe t-shirt, is Gordon Morrison. Hells, tell us a little bit about Gordon's story.
So Gordon has been nominated by his son, Andrew Morrison. And Andrew got in touch and he said, you know, at 66, last year, having done limited exercise during his adult life, and basically he did Brighton Sprint Tri, and then he had hoped to do Windsor on the Olympic distance after loads of training on the Watt bike, but then a mini beast paid to that. But basically he was just saying that he can't describe how proud he was watching him race and finish, and how inspirational his dad has been, pushing on through winter, seeing what he could do. This is funny. And he won a bet. He said his sprint time was faster than my Olympic time at Brighton comfortably. And he said he'll be the first to admit that he isn't the fastest, but in my book is definitely noteworthy. And Rob, that's the kind of story I love. And we did have a number of people in their 60s, possibly even one or two in their 70s, taking part on Sunday. And yeah, it's just awesome. So congratulations to Gordon Morrison, and Andrew, thank you very much for your email. It's much appreciated.
Stuff. Yeah, Andrew and Gordon will be in touch to sort out delivery of a great package from our sponsors, wearetribe.co. So thanks very much to them for providing it. For the rest of you guys, remember you can get a free trial pack if you haven't tried them yet, with 6 either energy bars, trail mix or recovery bars for just £1 by using the code OxygenAddict1. Cool beans, huh?
Very cool beans. Very cool beans indeed.
I like that triathlon's the kind of sport where sons and daughters are nominating their parents for getting involved in. It's like the circle of life, isn't it?
It's honestly, it's pretty magical. We did have a dad and daughter crossing the line together.
Oh, brilliant.
We definitely had a husband or wife and sort of girlfriend, boyfriend. We had a couple of those, and our man on the mic was like, go on, get him on the finish line. Would you hold hands, Rob, or would you've done a cheeky little sprint finish?
With you, I'd have held hands, definitely held.
I was going to say not with me. I would have out-sprinted you.
You don't have to have quite so much revulsion. Yeah, there's no chance of me running at the same speed as you these days.
No, there is. You'd absolutely, you would, I was going to say murder me. You wouldn't murder me.
No.
You would beat me hands down.
I took my little lad to a junior park run at the weekend, and bless him, he went off like a maniac and then gradually got slower and slower, and then stopped to look at some flowers and stroke a dog and lost all interest in the racing, and then got a stitch with about 200 meters to go and started crying with 100 meters to go. I have a pain in my side, Daddy, it won't go away. And then he got overtaken by somebody, and all of a sudden he transformed back into like the same athlete that had been there on the start line, did a flat out sprint against this 13-year-old girl, dipped on the line to get past her, so God knows where he's got that from, and then collapsed holding his side, bless him. So it was great.
Obviously inherited the competitive spirit Rob.
Spirit, yeah.
Yeah.
The stitch, definitely.
Yeah, no, I'm not having her beat me, no.
Right, let's talk about some results going on, because we had some great stuff going on this weekend. Were you watching what was going on at Texas this weekend?
I followed a little bit of it, but we were busy duathloning. But I did follow, and then I've read quite a lot of the comments and stuff afterwards, because yes, super impressive performances, Rob, absolutely. And didn't you say that Will Clark was in fine form?
Well, I like to think that the 20 minutes that he spent riding horribly slow and nursing me along through Lanzarote as I went at max effort to try and chat with him, I like to think those 20 minutes G'd him on.
I'm sure that was it.
What a great performance. We'll kick it off with that. We'll kick it off with talking about Ironman Texas, because I got a text off one of my buddies that said, "Oh my God, have you seen what's going on in Texas?" So I went and tuned in, and talk about super quick times going down. Now, there's been a bit of controversy here going on afterwards, which we'll get into, but how about this for top times on the men's side? Winner for the men, Matt Hansen, 7 hours, 39 and 35 seconds. Ivan Tutkin from Russia in second, 7:39.57, so I make that 12 seconds behind, which is about 40 meters. Will Clark in third in 7:45. So imagine that, you go 7:45 and get third. So it was a stonkingly fast course, and it looks like it's been the perfect storm of good conditions, incredibly fast road surface, basically a huge section on a closed motorway as well.
Yeah.
Times on the ladies' side as well have been similarly stunning. Mel Hauschild took it out in 8:31. So just staggeringly fast times. On the men's side, there were 11 men went under at 8 hours. And on the ladies' side, 10 women went under 9 hours. So just an astonishingly quick day. Now, the controversy
Rob,
side.
I was just going to say, did you know that the Ironman stated that the bike course was shortened for safety reasons?
Yeah, well, here's an interesting thing with this, and a lot's been made of it, but they have said that the course was short, but I've had several people say to me on their Garmin it was 77k, which is, obviously 3k short, but it's within the percentage that's allowed to make it an official course still without being short. So it's longer than Roth, for example. Roth is shorter than that, from lots of Garmin files that I've seen. So although people are saying, the course was short, well, it maybe was a little bit shorter than the official 180k, but I think most Ironman bike courses are not the actual exactly 180k. So I don't think that's the part of it that's made it a super quick day. I think something that's made it super quick for a lot of the athletes, and not all of them, and certainly not all of them at the front of the race, but in the age group racing especially, there were unbelievable packs had formed. And if anyone's interested, you can go and check out on Slow Twitch. There's actually some footage on there from like traffic cameras that look down over the road that people have posted. Not just packs that are we're not talking guys in a single file riding 3 meters behind. We're talking about packs that are 4 or 5 people wide.
Like it looks like the Tour de France, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a peloton. Yeah. It's across 2.5 lanes of the highway. There's one bit where there's a hideous crash where someone touches wheels and goes down, and it just looks like the finale of a Tour de France. So, yeah, so super quick times from that. Obviously, a lot of drafting in the age group races, but do you know what? I think the only people who are going to complain are the people who weren't there. Everybody, or 99% of people who sign up for a race like Texas or Florida know what they're signing up for, and they're going because they want to put a fast time on the board. Now, there'll be some athletes who go and they don't want to get involved in the drafting. There'll be lots of people who know they can ride really fast in a legal pace line and can ride 10 meters apart and still get a really good fast bike split from that. And there's always going to be people who, who are blatantly going to go downright cheat. And there's people who are going to get caught up in it as it happens, and they end up thinking, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm going to get dragged along with this. I don't think there's many hells, to be honest, who go with the aim of thinking, I'm going to get on somebody's wheel and I'm going to cheat my socks off here. I think it's something that you get swept into as you go along.
Well, an interesting post, Rob, by Dimity Lee Duke, who is a professional. She's an Australian professional, and she posted something on Instagram saying, well, what can I say? A hard post to write on many levels, but one that needs to be published in the most professional way I can. For those who know me well enough, I'm not to give up on races lightly. But today I had to ultimately decide on whether I wanted to be a sheep and follow the flock or stop purely as a matter of principle. Ironman Texas was an interesting day. I had never felt so well prepared and ready physically and mentally. The swim went well, but then she says it was onto the bike where things went pear-shaped. I was riding with credible female pro athletes and some professional men. Unfortunately, there were a number of athletes within the riding group who chose to blatantly break the rules, drafting not just on the odd occasion, but for the whole ride until I chose to pull the plug. And she was just saying, regardless of whether draft marshals are around or not, it should be up to the athlete to race clean and fair. Obviously, this was disregarded. I followed the rules. I decided not to continue to ride with the group. And she just said that basically the last straw came when another female pro athlete who is also drafting at 2 meters said, hop on and get a free ride. And then she says, I'm sorry, but this is not who I am and who I am about. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I think if you go to Texas to a bike course like that and you're not expecting there to be something along those lines happening, I think you're a little bit naive, honestly.
Yeah, well, I guess
it's a little bit of a controversy, and I agree with her that she's pissed off because she's a pro and she wants to go and race clean and all of that, but it's inevitably going to happen. It's always happened on those big courses. It's always happened at Florida. There's always a story of someone who does what she's done and says afterwards, I can't believe the drafting. It was disgraceful, but it always happens at these races and they always sell out. And I guarantee Texas will sell out again next year because there are so many people who want to put really fast times up on the board. And I don't think it's a problem that's unique just to that. I think if you talk to people who've raced Austria, Frankfurt, Roth even, big packs form on the bike there as well. And it's just an inevitable part of racing on courses where the sections where people are going along at, even you're riding at 45k an hour like the pro men are, even at 10 meters, you're getting a massive pull from somebody in front. And it's hard not to roll into the draft zone behind somebody. I think, it's just really difficult, isn't it? Especially with the age group racing where there's going to be so many people in a short space of time. And then the fast age group men are going to catch the pro women. And at that point, it becomes really difficult for them, doesn't it?
I think obviously that is part of a massive part of the issue especially for the pro women, isn't it? But yeah. I mean, it's not a new argument. I appreciate that, but then
they should give them a 20-minute head start, shouldn't they?
Yeah, well, totally. Yeah. And okay, massive packs like Tour de France packs, because they allow too many people to enter the races and all
it's got
go
to be
off
super frustrating, hasn't it, as an age group woman, as a pro woman who swims really well, gets onto the bike, and then finds that the 15 women behind have been swept up by massive packs of really strong male age groupers and all got pulled to the front of the race.
And no one does anything about the massive packs, and that's.
I think I remember somebody saying that they'd done some maths on it and worked out that on a lot of courses there isn't physically enough room to get all the athletes on if they're 10 meters apart.
But it can't be. That's the thing. They literally can't be, can they?
I've told the story before. My first Ironman was Australia, which was basically at the time it was an out and back course with a dog leg in the middle. But you rode out a 45k, turned around and came back again. So as someone who was towards the middle of the pack, but I mean towards the back of the pack, riding out, I saw that this huge peloton coming back towards me, and ultimately it's part of the reason the race was moved from Forster, because these enormous, and we're talking hells, 3 people wide, 200 people long, just an enormous pack of athletes riding back towards you, and you kind of looked over and thought, wow, those guys are in a different race, and I'm sure none of them wanted to be in that position. But once they're there, what are they going to do? They're going to roll along and hope for a good marathon at the end of it. So, yeah, you know what? More people should enter UK, Lanzarote, Wales. There you go. Yeah. Don't do it. There's plenty of tough courses. Or go to Lake Placid if you're American. Yeah, it's a super tough one, and I do feel for, as much as I've sort of said, well, she's been a bit naive, I do feel for her.
I feel for her, and I feel for the others around. Absolutely. Rob, let's just quickly go through. What would be interesting
if they don't change what races they enter next year as pro women.
Yeah.
Because I think it will necessarily attract strong runners who think, well, I'll probably get swept up with this, and then, blitz away.
Yeah. And then see what happens. Yeah. So, Rob, as we mentioned in the men's race, Will Clark was third, Ivan Tutekin second, and Matt Hansen first. And in the women's, Mel Hauschild took the win in 8:31, ahead of Jodie Robertson of the USA in 8:42. And then Leslie Smith, again of the USA, 8:43. Meredith Kessler, Rob, on her return, was 6th in 8:47. And shout out for Kimberly Morrison as well, who finished in 8:50, 8th spot. Again, she's improving all the time. Great race from her.
Another bit of interesting news here. The guy in second, Ivan Tutkin, someone sent me a link here. Triathlete Tutkin accepts finding of no fault for meldonium anti-doping rule violation from the 31st of August 2016. So you remember the thing that, what was her name? Sharapova.
Yep.
Got popped for. And it's a really interesting article because apparently that drug didn't used to be on the list, and then it was put on the list.
Correct.
And they used to they just used to be able to buy it in pharmacies in Russia.
But Rob, we go back round and round in circles, and it's that grey area, isn't it? And I think many sports people, I just think they're not necessarily doing anything illegal, but are they doing something ethical?
Oh, yeah, I like that. Nice phrasing.
There you go.
It may not be illegal, but is it ethical?
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's
interesting.
It's playing the system, so they haven't necessarily done anything wrong. The system allows it. So yeah. Rob, there were other races going on.
There were. Good win for Lucy Charles down in Cannes. It looks like she overcame a puncture and got a bit of assistance getting it sorted, and then hit the road again. It's a great photo with her on Tri 24/7, just whizzing along on a road bike, looking like she's having the time of her life. And why not? She is. Good win for Lucy. And Javier Gomez takes out the men's race as well. So, yeah, great results for those two.
Fine form. Over in Marbella, Rob, nice sprint finish from David McNamee. There's a great photo of him grabbing the tape, and it's just pure emotion with Chris Lifferman, and he just pipped him on the line. Both of them sprint finish.
Those inches fantastic. In it, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, real inches. I mean, they both were awarded the same time, and then McNamee got it in the sprint finish. Shout out for Susie Richards, Rob, as well. 7th place.
Yeah, good old race there, Susie. Nice one. Good work. And I'm going to let you do the next one, Hels. We have to have our traditional Norwegian update, don't we? And what better way to deliver it?
Yes, my favourite Norwegian was joined by two others on the podium. It was a 1-2-3 for the men in Bermuda, which, I mean, that's completely, no one had predicted that at all. Yes, it was Casper Stornes who took the win, and then Christian Blumenfeld was second, and Gustav Eden was third. It was brilliant because basically, Rob, they took
the race to everyone else, didn't they?
They? They just broke away and went for it. And I love the fact that Stornes is only 21, and he probably just thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. And
I've noticed a real upturn in Danish triathlon since you took an interest in them, Hels. I'm wondering whether the Danish Triathlon Federation should give you some advisory role. You're obviously having a good effect on them.
Norwegian or Danish? Norwegian.
Norwegian.
Norwegian,
yes.
Danish.
I meant to say Norwegian.
You said Danish, but that's okay because there was a Dane up there as well. Andreas Schilling was, up there with them. So Scandinavian, let's go. Rob.
I said that. Do you know why? It's because one of them's called Iden. He's got Iden across the middle of his top on the photo I'm looking at, and my brain said Denmark.
No, I get that.
That's what it was.
And then, Rob, an absolute masterclass in how to dominate racing and, in your home country. Flora Duffy basically let out the water, smashed everyone on the bike, and
just rode away from everybody.
Back on the run. Yeah, it was very impressive.
And then, of her own, isn't she, in bike handling?
Oh, seriously. Vicky Holland, Rob, got second there. Another really fantastic finish, actually. I saw the end. Katie Safiris was just ahead of her running in, and then Vicky Holland went to try to pass her on like literally the last corner, and then it was full on sprint finish to the line. There wasn't that much space between crossing the line and the barriers. I was like, oh god. Anyway,
a bit of a pile up, eh?
Well, second place for Vicky Holland and a nice 8th for Jodie Stimpson.
Good stuff. So big shout out to our sponsors, Precision Hydration. Thanks very much, guys, for sponsoring the results section of the show. Remember, listeners, you can get yourself over to precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of Precision Hydration worth up to $9.99 using the code OxygenAddict. If you haven't been online yet and taken the online sweat test, it's a great way to find out the kind of trends that you show in sweating, whether you're a heavy sweater or possibly a salty sweater or both. And as the summer approaches in the Northern Hemisphere, you're going to need to take care of that electrolyte replacement. So, Hels, I've lost track of the number of athletes this month who've told me either they went out in the heat and they were getting cramps because they forgot to sort out their electrolyte needs, or the people who have been caught out by hideous rainstorms and done the workouts indoors on the trainer and been saying, I just had water in my bottle and I didn't think to take care of it. And it's such an easy way to take care of something like preventing cramp. There's so much evidence out there that the correct electrolyte drinks are really going to help with that. So if it's hot outside or you're hot inside because you're on the turbo and going through 16 towels, just get a sachet of Precision Hydration into your bottle and it's going to help with that massively. So remember, again, use the code OxygenAddict and get £9.99 worth free. Right, Coach's Couch then, Hels.
Yes, Coach's Couch, and then we will bring you the interview of the week. So Coach's Couch this week, Rob, is all about that dreaded first long ride on your TT bike. I haven't done one yet.
No, well, do you know what? I went out for my first short ride on my new TT bike the other day and got a sore neck from being on it then. So that flashed into my memory. And I was like, oh, okay, I've been out for 5 minutes and I'm hurting already. But one of my guys sent me an email and he was like, look, man, I've just been out and done like a 6-hour race sim on my TT bike. Power was fine, speed was great, but I was just in agony. I couldn't see up the road. What's gone wrong? My bike fit must need sorting. And I thought this is probably a really good time to start talking about this with athletes because, we're getting into May. People are going to be starting to do some serious chunks of work on their TT bikes if they're racing in the summer. And I just wanted to sort of put people's minds at rest and say, look, remember, or not even remember because you won't remember, accept that it is going to feel completely different from how you remember it feeling last year, because our memories often don't tell us the truth and they remind us of our best ever performance. And I think often we don't even remember how it actually was at the time. We put a rose tinted glasses onto it. I guarantee that on your first long ride on the TT bike last year, your neck and your shoulders and your undercarriage were in agony after not very long. And it's going to be the same this year. So expect it and do some stuff to deal with it. Okay, so we'll just go over. I know we've talked about this several times on the show before, but it's worth going over because I know a lot of people are going to be struggling with it. The first thing you can do is you can make sure you've got chamois cream on inside your shorts. That's really going to reduce the amount of friction that's rubbing between your skin and your cycling shorts and your saddle. That's going to massively extend the amount of time that you can actually be on your saddle. So that's the first contact point. The second thing is, if you need to replace the pads on your aero bars, get it done now, because those contact pads can be really, really irritated if they're not comfortable. So spend 10 or 15 quid on a new set for the season and treat yourself. And the third thing is, you've got to remember that you're not going to be able to see where you're going a lot of the time if you're in an aggressive aero position. And it's going to take time to get used to that feeling of kind of looking at the roadometer in front of you and then looking up the road and seeing what's going on and where the potholes are, and then getting back down in that aero position again. It will come back, but treat it like interval training for your neck and your shoulders. So ride for a little period down in the aero position and then sit up and have a recovery. Get back down and ride in a recovery in the aero position again. Pick a decent stretch of road, a nice smooth stretch of tarmac to do it on if you possibly can. And it won't always have to be like this, but make life easy on yourself for that first ride, because the roads up here are horrendous at the moment, aren't they, with potholes and stuff. So
that's a joke.
There's some really, really rough road surfaces, and we seem to say it every year, but they've definitely got worse year on year. So find a stretch where it's safe to ride in your aero position and make that life easy for yourself. But just know that you don't have to be able to do 6 hours in the aero position in your first ride out. You only have to be able to do 6 hours in your aero position the day before your Ironman race, and you're going to build up to that. So take the opportunity to get up out the aero position by sitting up on the hoods, going uphill or going around corners or whatever. And just accept it's got to be treated like interval training for your shoulders and neck. And it will get easier as you go along, but you're not going to be able to do it all in one, or very few people are going to be able to do it straight away, all in one go.
I'm feeling quite scared, Rob.
Well, it's interesting.
Not about getting on my TT bike, more about the fact that I have done so little riding.
It'll come back much faster than you think it will. You've done a spin class every week all through the winter.
Yeah.
You've kept yourself in decent shape. If you've been riding and running, you'll be amazed how quickly, firstly, how little fitness you've lost, number one. Secondly, by how quickly you feel like you're a real rider again, and how quickly you'll forget that you had a big break from the bike. You know what I mean?
I honestly, it's mad though, isn't it? It's like, this time last year, I was preparing to ride the length of Italy. This time, I don't know if I could even do 2 hours. We're doing a coast to coast ride in probably, I don't know, what, 8 weeks?
That's loads of time. A lady of your strength, loads of time.
My word. Anyway, Rob, should we go on to another woman with a lot of strength, Louise Minchin?
Yeah, Rob, tell us about the interview of the week.
It is with Louise Minchin, who you might see if you tune in to BBC Breakfast, because she is one of the presenters, but she is also a very good age group triathlete. So she's made the GB team, and she's got a book out, Rob, this week. So by the time you hear this, it may well be available, 3rd of May, which is Dare to Try: My Journey from the BBC Breakfast Sofa to GB Team Triathlete. And we had a good giggle doing this interview. So here we go. Here is the interview of the week. Louise Minchin, hello and welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon podcast. It's very exciting because usually I do this over Skype, so it's good to be face to face.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, here we are in a sort of tiny little studio behind my set, and we found someone nice and quiet. But you didn't bring any cake. I noticed you brought your book, which I'm buying, obviously, but you didn't bring any cake. Slightly disappointed, to say the least.
I'm sorry. I'll have to. If you did, okay, so you're in that book.
I'm in the book.
Your cheesecake at the end.
In fact, I've got the recipe for my cheesecake today. In fact, thank goodness you brought. No, I haven't got the recipe. I've got the ingredients, so I'm going to go home and make it. Now I've got the recipe again. Thank you.
Wonderful. I say to many people, I can highly recommend the chocolate orange brownies.
Okay.
And Rachel Joyce's banana, cacao and pecan loaf is delicious.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
There we go. Anyway, we're not doing this to talk about cake. We were going to do it to talk about triathlon, because people might have seen that you now are very much into triathlon. How did it all start for you?
Well, we have to go back quite a few years to 2012, and remember that glorious summer of the Olympics in London, and I was absolutely addicted to it. I watched hours and hours of it, just completely besotted with it, just loved everything, particularly all those goals in the velodrome. It was just utterly brilliant and inspiring. And at breakfast, I just joined breakfast in 2012, and at breakfast in the run up to Christmas, we'd always been doing Christmas challenges, and I'd never taken part in them. And until then, they'd been, Bake Off, or they'd been MasterChef, or something cooking, foodie related. And I said to my producer said, "Oh, Louise, have you got any ideas for a Christmas challenge?" And I said, "Well, I know we always do food ones, but why don't we do something inspired by the Olympics? Because they've been utterly amazing, and we're talking about legacy all the time on breakfast. So what do you think?" Anyway, she went away, and I thought nothing of it really. And about 4 weeks later, she came up and says, "I've got you a challenge. You are going to go to the velodrome. You are going to get on one of those bikes. You are going to have a race. Myself and Charlie in one team, that's Charlie State, Bill Turnbull and Susanna Reid in the other team. You are going to race each other, and it's in front of a crowd of 4,000 people." Okay, a few things to point out. Number one, I'd never been in a velodrome. Number two, I'd never sat on a racing bike, ever, in my whole life. And number three, 4,000 people, so hugely scary, exciting, all the rest of it. It's a long story, but I'll try and do the brief version. Longer versions in my book. Anyway, so we go to the velodrome, and we're really nervous. And we put on Lycra for the first time. I literally, went in, and the sides are so steep you can't see on the telly. On the telly, I sort of assumed it was flat, being ignorant about this thing. But of course, the sides are like 45-degree angle, so utterly scary, unbelievable. First thing I did was slide on my bottom down the side. I'm sure nobody else, like Chris Hoy does that, or Victoria Pendleton. Anyway, so anyway, I just got on that bike, and the weirdest thing happened, and I've talked to Susanna about this afterwards. I literally touched that bike, and something changed in my life. I got on it, and it was really painful, really wobbly, really scary. I did one loop of the velodrome, screamed the whole way round, did a second loop, and suddenly thought, my goodness me, this is really fun. I didn't realise, it sounds ridiculous now. I'd always thought as cycling as a sort of commute thing, or, maybe you'd sort of like potter down, I don't know, on a nice cycle path or something. But I never thought that it could be a sport for me. And I was 45 or something, this first time I sat on the bike. And literally my life changed, and I suddenly thought, gosh, this is a great thing to do. And then we had the race, and all during the day of the run-up, Bill had been going, "I can't be beaten by a girl." And if anybody knows me, they'll know that is literally the biggest challenge. And I just thought, there's one thing I'm going to do today, is I'm going to make all the effort I can to beat Bill. Anyway, we'd raced, and the atmosphere was incredible. The whole thing was amazing. And so Charlie went first. He got an amazing time. Bill went second. He did I'm making up the numbers now, but it's something like 23.958 seconds. And we all know seconds, milliseconds count in sport. I absolutely went for it. And literally, it's so funny looking back, because you see my hand let go of the rail. And at that moment, my life changed, because I could have done one of two things. Charlie and I were going to win anyway, because Charlie had done an amazing time. I could have just cruised round, sort of waved to the crowd, enjoyed it. And I just went for it. Properly went for it. Put all my heart and soul into it. Whizzed round, beat Bill by 0.05 of a second. And that was it. I was like, oh my gosh, I gave up competitive sport 30 years ago. I need to do more competitive sport. So that's where the journey began, in the velodrome.
I love that. That's great. So you said there that you did do competitive sport. Was it a swimmer?
Yeah.
Were you a swimmer?
Yeah, so I was a swimmer. And I love when people say, because I go to triathlons now, and my fellow competitors, I've got a bit of a reputation with my swimming now, which is funny. And it's only funny because it just makes me laugh, because they all go, "Oh, Louise is really good at swimming." And I do sometimes come first, second in my age group, in swimming. And they'll go, "Oh, you're a swimmer." And I just think, well, I'm not really. I did swim competitively at school, but, I didn't do county level. I didn't do, nothing serious. But I did swim at school, and I loved it. I really loved it, and I was a good swimmer. I swam. I had a friend, my best friend at school, and we used to be in all the races for the school. And the only ones we didn't win were the relay, because we had to have other people in the team, but we'd win everything else. So it was really fun. So I loved swimming, but I don't, to say I'm a swimmer, I gave up when I was 15, and I gave up just at the point, and I look back now as a real shame, just at the point that I was actually getting probably quite good at, beginning to get good at it, beginning to look at maybe I could have started doing really, maybe a higher level rather than just school, but gave it all up, packed it all up. I didn't like my shoulders being too muscly, and that's an absolute tragedy, I think. Now, looking back...
it's so... that is not uncommon to hear that kind of thing, is it? No,
it's not. It's absolutely what, Sport England are dealing with, the This Girl Can campaign, research that you read. It all, so much of it says that, there is this kind of crunch point, particularly as a girl, I think, where, your body's changing, and actually... so many of them give up sport, and I gave up right at the time when I was really good at it. I could have been better at it, and it's not really about that. It's about the fact that I loved it, and to give up something that I loved because of the way I looked just seems so sad and such a waste. And I was going through O levels, actually, showing my age now, and A levels, and just at the time when I could have really done with an outlet where give me endorphins and make me feel better and make me forget stress. So yeah, I look back now and think, gosh, I really would love to encourage my girls not to do that and other people not to do that.
So we're going to go back to the triathlon.
Back to the triathlon.
Back to the
Favourite
triathlon.
Subject.
Yeah. So you went from the velodrome.
Yes.
And you had this immense moment of,
endorphins.
oh my goodness, those endorphins.
Yes.
So then, how did you end up on the start line of a triathlon?
Well, then, so I came out of the velodrome, and my bike had been nicked. So when I lived in London, I used to commute to work, and my bike had been nicked. And I thought, right, I don't just want a bike that I'm going to commute on. I want one with skinny wheels, with drop handlebars, a racing bike. And I didn't even know where I was going to race. I was just like, this is what I want to do. So I bought a bike, and couldn't even put my feet in the pedals and clip them on. I was fell over. But started doing little forays kind of into the Welsh hills and stuff, and really loved it. And then I was running a bit, as a kind of keep fit thing, really. And a friend of mine who lives in where I live now, I moved up to Chester when BBC Breakfast moved up to Salford. And a friend in the village said, oh, I've seen you running, I've seen you cycling. Why don't you try a triathlon? I was like, triathlon? Ooh, I know there's swimming and running and cycling, and I know the Brownies are really, really good at this. But the embarrassing thing is I genuinely wasn't really sure what order you did it in. I had no idea how far you swam, you run, you cycled. And, of course, it is swim, bike, run. I didn't know, anything about transition or how you'd get. I couldn't even imagine how you got from the swim to the bike. Anyway, so his friend said to me, oh, I'm going to sign up for a triathlon. And I just thought, well, then, I'll try sign up too. So in 2013, I did my first triathlon, and absolutely loved it.
And which one did you do as your first one?
So I did the Divas, which is in Chester, and it's a women-only triathlon, which I thoroughly recommend if you're going to try. I mean, there are brilliant triathlons there of all different levels all around the UK, so there's so many where you could go and do your first triathlon. But for me, having a female-only triathlon was really just kind of really helpful, because, not in the washing machine of the swim, you're not also dealing with big blokes' elbows, which obviously I have done several times since then, and that's fine. But, it probably would have been a bit challenging for my first triathlon. And also they really, Chester Tribe organise it, and they really trying to encourage people into sport. So they had training days as well, where we went out on our bikes and we swam in the river. So Divas, and it was really, the swim was really scary. So obviously I started swimming more now because I was going to do the triathlon, but I don't think apart from one training day when I'd swum 400 metres in the river. I hadn't done any open water swimming in a river, and my husband saw me, and honestly, I was in such a panic. I couldn't control my breathing. I thought I was going to drown. I thought I'd done 1,000 metres. It was only 150 metres anyway. In the first 2 minutes. Anyway, the whole thing I really, really struggled with, and I didn't realise till much later. that it was because I couldn't see my hand, you know, because you swim
in
in pools. Yeah. You know, all of us train in pools, beautiful, clear, lovely pools, don't we, where it's warm and you can see the end. And of course, in a river, you know, beautiful, you know, it's the River Dee, but it's dark, and I couldn't even see my elbow. And it really kind of made me claustrophobic. I didn't realise, and really panicky. And I didn't realise till I sort of got out and why I was so panicky. But the bike, I loved. The run was always, as it always is for me, really, really tough. But came over the finish line, burst into tears, thought, might better do that again.
It's the weirdest feeling, isn't it?
Oh, it's so, and also you know, it's not just that getting over the finish line and all those moments. I have really, I don't know about you, but I'm sure you do because you do, you know, long form triathlon. You know, those dark moments when you just think, why am I doing this? This is ridiculous. Why don't I walk? Blah, blah, blah. And then that sort of euphoria. And the best thing about the euphoria is it doesn't last 5 minutes. For me, it's sort of like 2 or 3 days, or maybe even more. It's brilliant.
The buzz. It is.
The buzz,
it's that high, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like a physical, you know, you might be feeling really exhausted, but your brain is just whizzing, going, oh my goodness, that was amazing.
One bit in your book, which I thought was particularly interesting, Dare to Try, is that you were saying that actually it was sort of what happened in work and your professional career that kind of made you focus more on the triathlon and almost gave you those goals, because I think that's pretty common as well, that actually perhaps for a lot of people we maybe get into it, you know, late 20s, early 30s.
It's a bit late, this sport, isn't it? We can come to it late.
But you know, and perhaps that's at the point whereby you, for a lot of people, you know, you've gone up the career ladder and then maybe you plateau slightly and you're like, well, what am I, you know, I've reached that particular goal, what else am I going to do? And then it is about finding those goals outside. Yeah,
there's lots of things. I mean, for me, there's lots of things. I was going through a particularly difficult time at work in that Susanna had left, but the BBC hadn't decided who was effectively going to replace Susanna. And also, you know, I love my job, but it does come with good days, bad days, indifferent days, stressful days. And, you know, I'm not, you know, there are much more stressful jobs out there, believe me, but it's a place I find, and I have found in triathlon, that it's a space where all I'm doing is what I'm doing. I am just running, and I'm not thinking. Actually, there are some times with running, actually, I can find that I, you know, have a thoughtful run but I'll work, you know, it helps me work out problems in my head. Other times, particularly with cycling and swimming, I find that I'm just doing that. I'm not worrying about how the programme went that morning, or have I done, you know, what I meant to have done for the next day, or, you know, it's just for me it's a space where I'm not worried. So there's that, and that makes me, you know, every run, bike, swim makes me a little bit happier. But it's also for me very much about the effort I put in. I'm the one who gets directly affected with the rewards. So if I train really hard, I'm going to get the results. Nobody else gets the results. It's just me. And they're not brilliant. Sometimes they're better than I expect or whatever. But do you see what I mean? That's what it is. So it's a bit of control as well about your own destiny. A little bit of control of your own destiny, I think.
Are you quite a natural worrier?
It's funny. You know, I am a worrier. Last night, so for example... Talk about the book. Maybe it's because I was coming to do this interview today. I woke up in the middle of the night thinking that there were like 25 typos in the first chapter. It's gone to the printers. It's too late. It's gone to the printers. So I do tend to have ridiculous. I mean, hopefully there might be one, but there's not going to be 25. Hopefully it's been through a lot of processes. But yeah, no, I'm a worrier, so it helps me with the non-worrying, or put the worries into, just put them into a bit of perspective, really.
You've been successful in your age group. You've got the GB vest. How have you found that whole GB age group experience?
Oh, well, so first of all, I mean, I had no idea about a lot of things before I started this journey into triathlon. And I had absolutely no idea until that first triathlon that being old was good. Age group is a good thing, isn't it? So
Edwina Brocklesby won't want to hear you saying being old.
So you get judged. You get judged in your age group. I'm not being judged against 21-year-olds. So I didn't realise that. So when I think I came 8th in my age group in my first triathlon. So first of all, I didn't realise that was a good thing. So that was obviously on my horizon. And then about a year after I'd started, somebody said, you know, I'd maybe got a couple of fourths or something, and somebody said to me, and I'd seen people in these GB suits, and I just looked at them and thought, oh my gosh, they look so cool. How do you get hold of one of those? And then somebody told me that you basically, get a qualifying time in a qualifying triathlon, and then you can go and they said, you're doing real well. Maybe, this is what you have to do. Qualifying time, qualifying triathlon, and then you can represent your country. And I just thought, that is utterly so beyond my imagination. Such a ridiculous idea that, this presenter sits on a sofa for her living, gave up sport 30 years ago, could actually wear a GB suit, go and represent my country wherever it was. I just thought it's such a silly idea that I really want to give it a go.
And how did you find it?
Well, I mean, it was my coach, who's wonderful, called Claire Sutcliffe. I've been, I can't remember how long we've been working together, but anyway, she's been looking after me for a while. I basically didn't tell her for a while because I thought she was thinking I was utterly mad. And we looked at the figures, so we all know about our times and everything, don't we? And basically, I was like, I think on the swim, I just about was swimming the right kind of time. Cycling, far off, running even further off. So she's just set me a program. She said, there is a massive amount of work to do, but if you work hard over, I think it was like an 8-month, from like October till May or June, you might just be able to do it, but you're going to have to work in these different areas. So yeah, it was really hard. It was really hard, and we focused a lot on my running, actually, because the brilliant thing about being a bad runner or a slow runner for me is, of course, I can make up lots of time. I've not quite done it yet, but I'm getting there. That was where I could make big gains, and also the cycling as well. So yeah, really hard work. I mean, there's no getting away from it. It was like, swims when I didn't want to do it, runs in the pouring rain, cycle rides out in the, again, hail. I just had to knock, because I had an amazing goal, but that doesn't come without a lot of effort. So I did try really hard.
And you mentioned in the book about that fear of going to the track for the first time with running.
Oh my gosh.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, so, not only had I never sat on a racing bike at this point in my triathlon career, I'd never even at school, I'd never been to track running. I'd just never done it. So Claire was like, okay, so your running times, you really need to go and join the tri club, and you need to go to the track. And I just turned up on a sort of February or January evening in the rain, and I met all these people on the running track, and I just thought, oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm such an idiot, and it's really embarrassing, and I'm going to be last, and I was last. But the brilliant thing was that they just treated me like anybody else. They noted down my times and all the rest of it, and actually haven't been for a while, so I should go again. I knew I went lots and lots of times, and you start getting faster.
Are you still last when you go?
I'm not last anymore. I'm sometimes last. But the other day, I went running with the Tri Club, and they had 3 groups, and I was in the middle group. See?
Amazing progress.
I'm never going to be in the top group. But I was in the middle group, so there's always progress to be made. And, the good thing about the sport is that it's progress against myself. I'm not trying to beat anybody else. I mean, occasionally.
Apart from when you're on the start line at a championship.
Apart from maybe, in the last 100 metres when somebody tries to take me before the finish line. I'm not having that. Just not having that. But yeah, that's who I'm mostly racing against, mostly myself.
How do you find mixing training, especially when you were building up towards the World Championships or something, with 3:30 a.m. starts? Because I've been there as well, and it's that drunken feeling in the afternoon.
Well, I try, and I haven't been really good over the last, because I'm trying to get the book done and various bits and pieces. I try to go home from work, and I might get home maybe about 11 if I'm lucky, and do something then, because if you get it done then it's done, isn't it? But I'm in a bit of a, I haven't quite got, I'm not really happy with myself at the moment, because I can't, I'm really tired. I'm really tired, and the last thing I feel like doing, really frankly, right now, I've been up since 3:30, what time is it? Nearly 10, is going in a pool. But, I know if I do it, then I will feel much better. So, I really have to I'm a lot of the time force myself to do stuff, obviously.
It's such a weird feeling, because obviously I've been there, I've done lots of early shifts, and it is that force. You have to pack your kit the night before.
Yeah.
You have to put it in the car, and that has to be your first calling.
Yes, it is the
point.
best. Yeah, it is the best way, but I'm not doing that at the moment.
No.
I'm being a bit remiss.
Listening to your body.
Is that? Oh, I love you say that. Is it listening to my body? Maybe I need the sleep. And actually, I mean, I can't remember who told me, but I've done quite a bit over the years, quite a lot of talking to people. And I think actually I am a better, for me, the natural place to be training would be in the evening. So I'm really looking forward to. I love it in the summer where you can go and swim in the lakes or the meres around here, at 6 o'clock at night. Actually, I'd much rather be training then. But in the winter, obviously, I try and do it now. I probably won't do anything when I go home. I should be going for a run.
Do weather check and then...
Also,
and then...
it really helped, again, with the whole 3:30ness, one of the reasons I did this is because, it's the hard, the hours are hard, and I actually think that to get out for an hour in daylight is really, really important. Otherwise, I found when I first got up here, I'd go home, I'd go to sleep. By the time I woke up, it would, be like 3 in the afternoon and nearly dark again. So I really found out I was missing out on sunlight. So that, on a serious level, I do really try and get out in the light as much as I can, especially in winter.
Do you feel younger than you think you would have done if you didn't have all this? And I don't mean that in a rude way at all.
Well, no, I'm really delighted because I went to the gym the other day. They have those things where they do your...
Oh, yeah.
Guess how old? You can say whatever you like, by the way.
They
do that thing where they do your blood pressure.
Yeah.
This sounds terrible. It says 34 and I'm 49. I'm sure it's lying, but I was really excited.
That's amazing.
I'm sure it's just been kind. But anyway, on a really serious note, I feel completely different to when I started, and really kind of importantly for a woman of my age, I feel strong, really strong, and that affects me every single day. It affects the way I sleep, it affects the way I walk, it affects every time I move. I didn't realise till recently, everything I do, when I pick up a bag, I'm just stronger than I was 5 years ago, and that is really feels so much better. It really, really does. I'm strong in everything I do. So I'm not just fitter, but you don't notice the fitness really. Well, I suppose I do actually. I go run for a train, and guess what? I can go much faster. I can catch it. And believe me, I do that sometimes. Right. Oh, there's sometimes when I have to, the train's late for the connection, I'll put on my trainers, go, right, let's see if I can do this. And obviously shouldn't run on the stations, everybody. Terrible message.
I did it this morning.
Did you? But anyway, I'm faster, stronger, fitter, and it feels amazing. I'm really, I feel just empowered by that, and it's been a revelation to me, something I never thought would happen. And only now, 5 years in, do you sort of start seeing those benefits as well in some ways.
Do you also feel more confident, especially, given what you said, you went through a rough patch at work and all that sort of thing? Yeah. Has it given you a little, almost like an inner confidence as well?
Yeah, definitely. And it's found, it's about, we talked, don't we, on breakfast a lot about resilience and, that kind of resilient to whatever is happening in your life. Falling off in a triathlon, and that's what I love about triathlon. So I fell off in Liverpool in the pouring rain. Really, really hurt myself. Gouged my knee and my elbow. And this lady picked me up. She picked up the bike. She goes, "Your bike's fine." Oh, good. Then I must be too. So I ran on, did my 5K, and you can see all the pictures. I mean, they're revolting with blood streaming down my leg and everything. And I won my age group. I just won my age group the first time I think I've ever won my age group. And so that thing about resilience, about it doesn't matter if you fall, it doesn't matter if you fail, it doesn't matter if you come last, it doesn't matter if you have dark moments in the middle of the triathlon, which I have a few, especially when they're long. But the ability to just get up, pull yourself together, and get on with it, and actually that really helps on so many levels, on a personal level, on a professional level, and also I get terribly nervous ahead of triathlon. So actually, coping with that has also taught me coping strategies at work, because obviously there are big stories that I'm dealing with which make me more nervous than other ones. So yeah, so many levels it helps.
Do you feel more nervous at the start of a triathlon than you would, I don't know, let's say if you were interviewing Theresa May?
This sounds terrible. Yeah, probably at the start of a triathlon. I mean, no,
but you've been doing journalism for years and years and years.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's probably a difficult one, because obviously I would be, really concerned that, and ahead of an important interview like Theresa May, for example, or whoever it would be. I think if you looked at it, for example, am I nervous before I do breakfast in the morning? No, that's my job. Am I nervous before I do a triathlon? I've done 50 races in the last 5 years. Yes, I am extremely, ridiculously nervous. Ridiculous. I get completely beside myself. I forget things, I drop things, I lose things, I can't talk. Absolutely. And somebody watched me the other day because I was talking about my book, actually, and I was doing a speech in front of about a lot of people, and absolutely the same thing was going on. I was like, drop my pen, and literally, it's so funny because those, stand up, put the light on, put the microphone on, I'm absolutely fine. So in the triathlon, once I'm in the water and I've done 100 metres, the world is fine. Everything's brilliant and I love it. But I hate the hour before. Hair in my head.
And do you have coping strategies now? Are you less nervous?
I try to have coping strategies. I had a moment, and it sounds really weird, but again in that same Liverpool triathlon, there's something about that.
Clearly, you took lots from it.
I took a lot out of that triathlon. I'm so glad I did it. It's a really rainy, cold day, but I got in the water, and somebody knocks off my goggles, and it's all a bit of a washing machine, and it's all quite stressy. And then I'm swimming along, and I always reach this moment when something clicks, and when I'm swimming and everything's okay, and I look down and I could see these little blue floaty things. You're worried about this, aren't you? But it's fine. And I just thought, oh, it's so lovely. Look, all the fish are here just watching us swim. And then about a couple of meters later, I was like, oh, they're not fish, are they? They're jellyfish. But it's still okay. Yeah, genuinely. So I'm swimming with jellyfish, and it's really cold, and it's raining, and I had this zen-like moment when suddenly it was honestly one of my most favourite moments in all my triathlon. And so when I'm really nervous, it sounds ridiculous, but I just think of the light in that water, the temperature of the water, the beautiful jellyfish, genuinely, and it calms me down. So honestly, you're horrified, aren't you?
Yeah. Did that go through your head in Llandudno? We were both there last summer.
Yes, it did, yes. Oh gosh, that was really tough, wasn't it? So I'll tell you about
jellyfish, they weren't beautiful.
I didn't see any of them. I don't think I'd care. I mean, obviously I would if they stung me. Some poor lady got stung, actually, didn't they? Yeah. I'd never see them. But yes, genuinely, that was a tough day. So we raced in the same race. No, you were doing the longer distance. But so that day was Llandudno, and I changed last year because when I first started triathlon, I did Olympic distance because Claire, my coach, quite rightly said that given that I was new to the sport, I needed to be longer distance to be in any chance of qualifying. But last year, I love sprint because there's not so many moments when you just think, what am I doing? I mean, there are moments, especially when we're standing there and all those huge waves in Llandudno in the dark grey sea. Anyway, so that day was a really brilliant day. But for me, honestly, the rougher the waves, the colder the water, the better it is. I don't mind because I just think, well, everybody else is going to be really scared.
Because you love swimming in the sea, don't you?
Yeah, I love swimming.
Is that your happy place?
That's my swim was actually sea is really my happy place. And obviously, swimming in the sea is not without its dangers. So, to be swimming in the sea in a triathlon is sort of brilliant because you have canoes, you have rescues, you are in a safe place. So yeah, it's absolutely, you're right. But that was a tough day, and we got to the buoys, so you had to swim 200 metres out, didn't you? And then we got to the buoys and everybody's going backwards from the start line because of the current. And I just think, okay, bring it on. That's bad, isn't it?
No, it was just a
and then the waves were literally going over your head, weren't they? But that day was a fun day. That was a really fun day. So I did fine in the swim, and then on the bike ride, I only got overtaken by 2 people in my age group. And then there was some people from the Manchester Tri Club. There's obviously a healthy rivalry. They were trying to adopt me and make me swap tri clubs. I'm like, no. And then, so I did well on the swim, did all right on the bike, got on the run, and just like paranoid, going, oh my gosh, they're going to catch me, because I'm always caught, obviously, on the run. They're going to catch me. And they did, with like literally 2, maybe 400 metres from the finish line, and I needed to come first for a qualification place. And the person who was 5th behind me overtook me, and I just had nothing left. Nothing left.
But then you went to another
and then I did qualify. No, and then you know how it is, the roll down system worked. And I guess somebody must not have taken their place, and I got a place from that day, but you don't find out till later. Anyway,
it's okay. Oh, phew.
There's always the hope of the roll down. When I first qualified, I actually had a proper, not a roll down place, but that, I'm still going. Still win.
What's then the goal for this year?
So the goal for this year is I am going to do at the end of this year, and I thought this was never going to happen in my life, but you know that silly thing, never say no.
You have told me many times you're crazy.
How many times have I told you I'm not going to do an Ironman?
Probably every time you see me.
Well, now I've changed my mind. I have always told you that, haven't I? It's not the first time. So what happened was, you know, because I'm going to be 50 this year, and you sort of think, okay, so I've had an amazing adventure in triathlon. I love the GB thing. I love the team being out there. I love the supporters. It's amazing. But I sort of thought, okay, I'm sort of up for a bit of a grand, you know, a big adventure. And I was away over Christmas, and I saw a tweet about this thing called Patagon Man. And it's in Patagonia in Chile, and it happens to be in, excuse me, a town that I spent 6 months, or about 3 months actually, living in after I left university.
Amazing.
I mean, it's
amazing.
in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Properly, really remote. I've never met anybody who's been there before. Okay, so I see this tweet about Patagon Man, and just it's kind of full circle, because when I was there, I was working for Rally International, and they were doing expeditions, obviously. And I was working as an interpreter, Spanish to English, because I speak Spanish, and I'd have to do all the interviews. And that is literally where my career started, because I was being interviewed like we are now, literally like this, by this man in Patagonia. And I just thought, oh my goodness, I know that's what I want to do. I want to be the person asking the questions like you are. Anyway, forward wind, many, many years later, I'm still asking questions on a sofa now, and on the telly now. But so it was a really important place for me. And I came back and went to work for the Latin American section of the World Service, and many, many jobs later, here I am on BBC Breakfast. Anyway, so there you go. There's a tweet about Patagon Man. It is set in this town, and I just thought, if I'm going to do an Ironman, which I was never going to do, this must be the one. I'm so excited about it.
Will you have the whole family coming out to watch?
No, because it's a long way. I mean, it's 7,000 miles away. The swim is in sea fjords where orcas swim. Am I scary? Yeah, that actually, I say I'm not scared in the swim. That might actually, I am a bit scared about that.
I'd be slightly concerned. I mean, I was scared enough about jellyfish.
There are 300 of us, so you know.
It's fine, they can pick someone else.
I'm just hoping they don't pick me. I think it'd be fine. And then the bike is into the I think it's into the sort of foothills of the Andes, so 140k up, 40k down, and then the worst for me is it's an off-road marathon, so it's epic. It'll epic.
Be amazing.
But I am so excited about it. It's one of my favourite places in the whole world. It's a really special place for me. I'll go, and I've been meaning to go back there for ever since I left, and I've not gone back. So I'm very, very excited. I'm very nervous. I've got a huge amount of training to do, but you know that's what the last 5 years have been about challenging myself, about daring to do something that I think is ridiculous, and this is just the next part of the journey.
I love it. We'll leave it there. Louise Minchin, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much for all your support along the way, and I'm going to go make cakes. Thank you.
And we will stick a link to Louise's book in the show notes afterwards, so you can click on to go and order that direct from Amazon if you like the sound of what you've just heard in the interview. She sounds like great fun, Hells. You and her sound like Bezzy mates.
We had a good giggle, Rob.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. We had a very, very good giggle, and she's lovely. And her coach is Claire Sutcliffe, who listens a lot to the show, doesn't she? So
she sure is, Claire. Yeah. She's good old coach. Not old. She's a great coach, Claire. She's a lot of fun, and she's a very talented triathlete as well. So she kicked my backside all over Fuerteventura a couple of years ago.
There you go. And Rob, I do love the fact that that Louise has entered the Patagon Man.
Brilliant.
For December.
Yeah. There you go.
That was just brilliant.
Talk about taking a bite of something big and meaty, right? That's quite the event.
Correct.
Awesome stuff. Right, listen, we've just got time for a little bit of news before we wrap it up this week. I have seen that today, as we're recording, Boardman have opened their wind tunnel in Evesham, Worcestershire. So have a little Google about this. Basically, Chris Boardman's idea was, hardly anybody is paying attention to aerodynamics in a measurable way because it's so expensive. If we could find an affordable way to do it, we could revolutionise people who are competitive in cycling. And the price looks like it's going to be under 200 quid to get in the wind tunnel, Hells.
Interesting.
Yeah, so in terms of the price was in other wind tunnels I've seen has been around £500 an hour. Their starter package is going to be get in the wind tunnel, get a few things tested for under 200 quid for, I think it's for a half-hour session. And I'm sure those numbers are going to go up, sequentially with the different packages and things you test and how long you're in there for. But I think that's going to be massive for triathlon. I think friends we've had who've done some aero testing in wind tunnels have said it's amazing how much they've learned about different helmets and skin suit combinations combining to make them 50, 60 watts faster. So it could be the season where this is the next big thing to have, I think.
Wow. I think that'll be, because you do hear a lot of about professionals, obviously cyclists. Clearly, I'm talking like top cyclists will go in the wind tunnel, but also the pros. A lot of pros will also go in the wind tunnel as well, won't they?
It's something that's been quite big in time trialing because Matt Bottrell was really big on. He was sponsored by Drag to Zero, and he spent a lot of time in the tunnel. And people sort of were saying he is going ridiculously fast for obviously his power numbers are big, but they were nowhere near as big as Bradley Wiggins is, and he broke Brad Wiggins' 25 course record. So that really sort of advertised that there are massive gains to be had if you get this right. And so time trialists have been into it for a while, and I think this is going to be the next step. We're going to see a lot of triathletes who are thinking, well, that's the price of an aero helmet. I could spend 200 quid and get in there and, find 30, 40, 50 watts. That's massive. So we'll watch that one with great interest, hey?
Would you be keen to go in, Rob?
I'd love to. I'd be really, really interested. Yeah, it'd be very, very interesting. Start saving my pennies.
I think you should start saving up right now.
I'd tell you what I'd really be interested in would be going in to watch what happens as somebody else. I don't think there's much point in a guy like me doing it who's not very competitive anymore, but someone who's, gunning for a Kona slot or gunning to get on a podium. I'd love to go in and watch what they do and watch the process and learn about it. I'm fascinated by that for sure.
Yeah, almost be like a fly on the wall or just watching as they're doing it and seeing, right, how are they moving, their fingers to a different position or something very, very, I imagine some things are really quite small but make a huge difference.
Subtle positioning of the aero bars and elbow width. And even, I remember Matt Boswell telling me how important it had been for him to learn to kind of get his shoulders out of the way. And he came up for a swim analysis with Hamish and they were talking, and there were so many parallels between Hamish would say, look, you need to do X, Y, and Z with your body because you're producing drag with your body in the water. And he would go, oh, this is just like in the wind tunnel. And it was the first time I'd realised that's how he thinks. He thought in terms of every time I move a muscle, I'm producing a wind shadow behind me. Normal people don't think like that, do they, about riding a bike? You just think, I'm just going to try and see where I'm going and pedal as hard as I can. But I'm sure after talking to him, there's a hell of a lot more to it than that. So, yeah, we shall watch the developments with interest.
Excellent. Yeah, Rob, good. It's been a pleasure. It's been a joy this week.
It has. Lovely to chat with you. Thanks for listening, everybody. So we'd better wrap it up, I think, Hels, hadn't we? A couple of things. Thanks very much to our sponsors at precisionhydration.com. You can use the code OxygenAddict to get yourself £9.99 worth of free product. And also, you can use the code OxygenAddict1 at wearetribe.co, and that's going to get you a free trial pack of 6 delicious energy bars, trail mix and recovery bars for just £1 by using the code OxygenAddict1. So that's great. Thanks a lot. Until next week, I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray, and don't forget, if you do want to nominate anyone for the Tribe Triathlete of the Month award, then drop us an email, helen@oxygenaddict.com or help@oxygenaddict.com.
Awesome stuff. All right, everybody, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you again next week. Have a great, safe training and racing week. And most importantly, have lots of fun. We'll speak to you again soon. See ya.